Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Tell Us What the Cards Have to Tell, or See What the Cards Have to Tell Us. Yeah, that's right. I'm still getting it right. Anyways, hey, it's Eric Stearns here. I'm your host and your guide for the present energies at the time, considering the fact that we are going through such intensity right now and such, opportunities for quote unquote transformation and stuff like that. I figured I kind of throw my 2 cents in at least on a weekly basis and let you know kind of what's happening and kind of what the universe is trying to tell us through a couple of the card decks, specifically the fifth tarot and then the shamanic deck and then also the animal medicine cards as well. And so we've got quite a lineup. As a matter of fact, I took a look at the cards. I'm like going, what the hell? Mainly because of the fact that they just didn't initially make sense. So, but I think they do now. So I'm going to go through them and see what the situation is, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Sorry about messing around the screen here, but I'm going to share this. Ta-da! Yes, please. There we go. All right. So what do we have? We have, first of all, in the eastern position, we have the three of shells, which is basically celebration. And basically what this is saying is that um, not necessarily that we're not in for and I'll enlarge this for you just a second so that way people can see this a little bit better. Um, People are basically, here it is, it's summer. We just passed the winter solstice. Good God, summer solstice, and it's winter down south. Actually, it's south of the equator. So I guess maybe I'm reading something down south. Who knows? Anyways, it's summer solstice up here, and we're getting ready for the 4th of July and so forth and so on. But yet, all the celebrations have been canceled, or most of the celebrations rather have been canceled due to the you know what, and I don't need to tell you what that is. And there are a lot of situations where we are just kind of feeling like, gee, is this really a time to celebrate? Can we celebrate? What time of the year is it? Stuff like that. So the three of shells represents kind of that uncertainty as far as what's happening there. And it's an acknowledgement. The shaman is interesting because, boy, this card keeps coming up all over the place. And so shaman comes up reversed on the south because of the fact that what this is telling us is that this is a rite of passage for all of us, for ourselves, our community, and what this is saying is that we are in kind of the final stages of a preparatory time to where we are going to have to make some choices and make some choices about our path, choices about what our spirituality is, how our communities are going to work, and what those are going to look like. And at the same time, what this is also about is also about transformation, transforming what we want to see in a more robust type situation. And if you guys are looking in the small window and you see me looking away, it's because I've got this pipe to my larger monitor, and it's a lot easier to see. So, anyways, just to alleviate some questions there. So, anyways. So this is basically talking about how do we want to transform and really reinvent our communities and reinvent ourselves as far as that's concerned. Being of the shamanic path, it's about rites of passage. And this is saying that really this is kind of a rite of passage for us, basically in empowerment, also in manifestation as far as what we really want. I hate using that new age term because of the fact that it is new age. But the fact of the matter is that this is basically kind of a completion of a cycle and saying, okay, let's see if you've done your homework and if you're really ready to do the exercises, as it were. Okay. So the the West card, which is talking about our greatest advantage, we have the shadow. So this is really interesting because what this is doing is saying that with all the anger, with all the unrest, the situation is as they are at the moment, and all the building angst within. And of course, I am no stranger to that, as well as everybody else, is that we're really having to examine our shadow side, examine what has gotten us into this situation as far as surrendering our power and being oppressed or repressed, whether it's the masking laws, the stay-at-home orders, the mandatory temperature checks, and all the other draconian measures that are coming our way at a very fast pace. And what this is saying is that we're having to own our own shadow. We're having to face up to what has caused this. Whether it's our complacency, whether it's just denying what could have happened, and what is happening, so forth and so on. And our shadow is coming up and saying, look, I've got solutions, but you have to deal with me. And so therefore, right now it says that our shadow side, our anger, our angst, and stuff like that is really our greatest advantage. It's our greatest motivator. However, we are not quite using that because of the fact that we are just still yet afraid of it. We're denying it still, and so therefore, instead of us controlling our fear and using it as a tool, as a, say, like a warning of, oh well, there's a fire coming our way, I better get out of the way, or whatever. We're letting it take us over, and make the decisions for us, and even having other people make the decisions for us, which is the most toxic place that we can be at the moment. So that's the West card. The Four of Fire is very interesting because of the fact that, of course, this talks about inner light. This came up last week as well, because of the fact that we were talking about having to find who our humanity, what our humanity looks like, what we want humanity to be, how do we want it to work for us, stuff like that. And so this is the inner lesson. This is having us look really deep within and really take inventory as far as what it is that we want, who it is that we are, what do we most value, and what are we really willing to defend as far as those values are concerned. So this is saying that we're having to make a choice, and this is really saying that that the lesson here is standing upon our values, standing upon who we are, and what makes us humanity, and why humanity is so special and important, on not only an individual basis but also a community basis, a world basis as well. Is it going to be one of tyranny, like so many people talk about, or is this something that is going to actually help set us free? So that's why the North card is the inner light, because of the fact that this is the lesson that we're learning, is how to basically shine from within, and shine not only for ourselves but other people as well. Okay, so let's look at the prophecy axis here. We look at Mother Earth and we see the Six of Shells, which is nurturing. Um, what we're also seeing is that through all these times we're learning how to nurture ourselves, nurture each other, and know what really nurtures us. That's another question that we really haven't answered. So this is why this is coming up in the Mother Earth position, is because of the fact that this is what we're working towards. This is the foundation of the outcome, as it were. And so this is all about nurturing ourselves, so that way we can nurture our communities, nurture the new realities that we want to bring about around us. And really, it's kind of goes back to a little saying or a little story of what I was told earlier. It's like, uh, within us we have two wolves. One is dark or black, one is white, and that of truth and light, and so forth and so on. And which one do you feed? And the one that is more powerful is the one that you feed the most. And so therefore, what happens is that either we feed the wolf that nurtures us, or we feed the wolf that destroys us. That's what it's about, and that's what we're heading towards learning. And that's why that comes in the Mother Earth, or the Mother Earth position. The Father Sky position, which is the ultimate card, or the ultimate prophecy card, or the ultimate outcome rather, is that of justice. Okay. And what this is saying is that this will, if we take the advice that has been given to us, not only just through this channel, but other channels as well, is that what'll happen is that there will be a real sense of justice, that that things will be brought back into balance. We will be given back our power, given back our innocence, so forth and so on. And therefore, what will happen is that we end up becoming a how should I put it? We end up becoming free, or and therefore balanced, and therefore what is ours comes back to us, and the stuff that is of negativity or whatever, basically gets shut down. And but of course, that all depends on what we're doing. Of course, a lot of these cards, as you can see, the east, south, and west cards come in upside down because of the fact that that refers to the inner work. And then of course you have the inner light at the north, and then of course you have the nurturing at the Mother Earth position. And this is basically saying, what are you nurturing in order to bring the greatest outcome? Because what we are deciding will be what's handed to us. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The responsibility is in our hands. The seventh direction card, how are we relating to everything, is talking about activation. There's two messages that come with this because of the fact that it's inverted. It is activation within excuse me. Yes, I can't read that. Seven of Fire is talking about activation within. It's basically saying that we need to activate our own strength, our own will, our own desire, and stand up and say, okay, a lot of this is not making sense. I'm not going to believe the propaganda, so forth and so on. But yet we're still not doing that. And that's why it's coming in upside down. And that's really, if you look at the axes of the east and west, those are why the shadow card and the celebration card come in upside down, is because of the fact that we really haven't done that. We have the potential to do that, but potential is one thing versus actuality being another. The shaman, of course, is coming in at the upside down because of the fact that we're still kind of holding ourselves back from going through the rite of passage, claiming our own rights back, claiming our own freedom back, so forth and so on, because the powers are not going to give it to us, right? Okay, so the Four of Fire, of course, on the north, with the activation reversed, and the shaman in the middle, is basically saying, look, we've got to get off our duffs and really start to do the inner work, and so that way we can do the outer work, because nurturing, and of course the activation and the justice and stuff like that is what we're working towards. We're working towards nurturing ourselves, nurturing our communities, nurturing the excuse me, the positive aspects of humanity, and really working towards a greater sense of who we are. So it's not bad news, but it's, we are kind of, in essence, being scolded a little bit. All right, now let's go to the second deck. Let's see what that has to say here. If I can get to it. There we go. I got to zoom out. And okay, well, I don't know why you're doing this, because you worked there. Oh, okay, here we go. Slow ass computer. Okay, all right. Now, so let's go to the second deck. We have the Buried Earth transference. Okay, so this is kind of interesting because of the fact that this kind of, in essence, kind of represents the death card. The old ways of thinking and doing things are dying because of the fact that they were not sustainable. And what's happening here is that we're kind of going through the shaman's death process. We're being buried in that hole, so that way we can confront the shadows within and really see what's going on and what's happening. Timeline wise, I see this going through September, and kind of a second stage going from September to January. So we've got about 6 or 7 months of real examination and stuff that's really going to be piled on us. I don't really see this as really slowing down for us at all. As far as, we may get some respites here and there, but really, what this is doing is basically uh, bringing us into a greater sense of awareness, a greater sense of purpose, and any number of words that you want to put to it. That's why the shaman came in upside down in the South, is because of the fact that what this transference, buried in earth, is talking about is basically transferring um, from what's within to without. What we're doing is bringing stuff that is within us and bringing it with it. Bringing it to the external, and at the same time, because of that, we're having to go through a really conscious death process and really having to decide for ourselves what it is that we want and what it is that we really want to head towards. Um, so, prayer, hope. Now, this comes in reversed, and it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing. Um, what this is basically saying that there is hope, but we have to work towards it. We have to work towards it not only for ourselves but also our community. We have to give hope to and encouragement to each other, not just give these cliches of unprecedented times or trying times, or whatever adjective whoever wants to use it is saying. We have to look for what really truly gives us hope and really nurture that as seeds in the ground in order to basically bring that about, because potentially there is a lot of hope, but right now we're refusing to see it. And an exercise for that is just being grateful for every little thing that you encounter. Make a daily gratitude list. I do that a lot in my journals. That's a big thing. Now, the medicine mask is talking about authenticity. Again, this relates to the shadow side because of the fact that we are having to confront our shadow. We're having to see, instead of destroying our shadow, we're having to move through it. And in order to move through it, we're having to take stock, take inventory, um, and really, take notice as far as what what it is within inside us that is really motivating us to move into the future. And so therefore we're having to move uh, through that shadow. We're having to move into that shadow. We're not supposed to annihilate it. We're supposed to integrate it. And this, of course, is saying that we also need to learn, keep learning from our history, because of the fact that, in a way, it repeats itself. It rhymes. It comes in cycles. And so in order to break these cycles, in order to transcend these cycles is more of the appropriate word, we are having to basically be authentic with ourselves. We're having to, face our own selves in the mirror and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is not working. This is what I'm doing. This is working, so forth and so on. This is what I'm going to focus on. Or I'm going to do some work with those old issues or these present issues and really move forward and stuff like that. It's tough work, very tough work. Shadow work is always very intense and very, but yet also very powerful as well. So that's why the medicine mask comes in at the West, is because of the fact that really doing this process is our greatest advantage and our greatest tool that we have to use. That's also kind of also is kind of the prayer that a lot of us are praying, is being able to move through the shadow, being able to move through these times and come out stronger and so forth and so on. I've seen it being used out there almost like a cliche, but in a way, I think in a way it's kind of like you it's like in the early stages of where you start to realize that you want something, you say it and stuff like that. But now that you say it, you really have to build the feeling behind it. You have to build the desire behind it and stuff like that. So that's why the medicine mask comes in and the West. And that's our greatest advantage right now. What we are learning is our calling. That's why the conch shell comes in on the north, is because of the fact that we are really awakening to, or being called to awaken to, what our calling is, what our purpose is, our purpose to ourselves, purpose to each other, purpose to humanity, purpose to the cosmos, any number of things. All the layers are being compressed and converged and saying, okay, what do you really want to do? What do you really want to offer? And that's the lesson that we're learning. That's the wisdom that is being offered to us. All right. So, boy, that was intense. Okay. Um, the Mother Earth card is talking about soul retrieval. This is talking about reclamation. Again, this is saying that we are having to retrieve parts of our souls, parts of humanity, parts of communities that were lost or thrown away, that may not have been needed to be that may not needed to be discarded. Also, at the same time, healing a lot of the traumas. This time is honestly not new traumas. This is old traumas coming to us in a slightly different pathway, and it's coming in more intense because of the fact that they need to be addressed. And this is why this comes in on the Mother Earth position, because of the fact that really this is what we're going through is you know, uncovering those old traumas, uncovering what is basically causing us this fear and strife and surrendering of our power and so forth and so on, and saying, okay, you know, based on the current situation, what do we need to reclaim for ourselves, other than just the power of our own individuality and sovereignty? What do we need to reclaim for ourselves? So the Father Sky position, which is the final outcome, or what could be, is talking about continuation. That's the medicine wheel. So that comes in upside down, is because of the fact that we're being asked, what is it, how do we want to continue? Do we want to continue as our old selves and and ultimately destroy ourselves, or do we want to continue as something more new, wiser, more powerful, and more awake and aware, as it were? Right now, that hasn't been decided. That's why it's coming in upside down. But at the same time, because of the prayer, because of the hope, this is coming up on the Father Sky position. And so, looking at the seventh direction, because I really want to cover some of these axes for you, is talking about the ancestors. Simply put, this comes up in the upside down because of the fact that this is real. This is basically the inner work that we're doing. We are finding the inner wisdom that we've always had, that we've had for ages and ages. Coming back to the teachings of the ancestors, whether it be our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, whatever, and coming back into our wisdom and reclaiming that. So you see the reclamation in the Mother Earth, Father Sky axis for our continuation. Here we have, and then for the North-South axis, we have prayer and the conch shell calling in the North-South position, because of the fact that this is what we're trying to learn. We're trying to learn how our prayers can help us be who we are, so that way we can continue. The East and the West are talking about dealing with our medicine, dealing with our shadows, in order to basically earn and re-earn and reclaim the wisdom that we are coming into. So that's basically what the shaman's deck has to say. So I'm going to continue on now. Where's my thank you? There's my arrow. I have to do these backwards for some reason. I think next time I'm going to do the decks in reverse, so I can hit the right button in order to think that I'm going forward. Anyways, okay. So the next deck is on the east. We have the Badger. Badger is really interesting because Badger is kind of the defender of the home. Anybody who's confronted a Badger will know that they are tenacious. You go into a Badger's territory and, they'll without qualms attack you. And what this is saying is that this is saying that we need to basically rise up and defend. I'm surprised also that Armadillo didn't come up here. Um, Sorry about that. I'm surprised that Armadillo didn't come up here because of the fact that this is also talking about boundaries. I guess Badger kind of wins out because of the fact that we're really being called to defend our boundaries, defend our freedoms, defend our power, defend our sovereignty, and so forth and so on. And what Badger is saying is, look, it's okay to get pissed, but you really got to make sure that you really well define what the hell you're getting pissed about, basically. Okay. So otter comes in on the south because what otter represents is that of what? Nurture, right? Okay. So, and it's also at the same time divine feminine medicine as well. So we're having to really, again, nurturing ourselves, nurturing the wisdom within, nurturing the humanity within. Um, and nurturing our freedom and our sovereignty within. And what this is saying is that this is coming with the divine feminine, because that's where the nurture comes from. It's not about the outward aggressiveness, rage of the protests and stuff like that. It's more or less saying, look, yes, we will defend against it, we will speak up against it, but what we will do at the same time is mother that inner wisdom. And I think that's why the feminine, or that's one of the reasons why the feminine energy is coming back up to meet the masculine energy and help us ascend. It's not that the feminine energy is taking over. What it is that we are coming into an age where the feminine comes and stands with us and merges with us, so that way we can ascend into a new greater reality and a better paradigm. That's what the nurture card is all about. Right now we're resisting that, but if we nurtured that within ourselves and our community, I know, big words, huge concept right there, but if we nurtured that, that would be our greatest support. Now the greatest advantage is the blue heron. Now the blue heron is really interesting because of the fact that the blue heron is kind of the hunter of the skies as well, and really she complements Badger. So if you look at the east-west polarity here, there really is no polarity because of the fact that the Badger is saying, yeah, we need to defend our homes, i.e. our sovereignty, who we are, our power, not letting governments roll over us with this pandemic scare and so forth and so on. And Heron is saying, look, sometimes we need to rip, kind of in essence rip this to shreds. But what Heron is saying is rip our fear to shreds, so that way we can stand up and say, nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to insurrect. I'm not going to do it violently. But at the same time, if somebody tells me to do something that doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it because of the fact that I have no fear of kowtowing to that, to that, mandate or whatever it is that wants to squash us in a very real sense. So this is basically kind of saying, yes, do the insurrection and stuff like that, but do it in a subtle way. And what you find is that really when you do that in a subtle way, you tear apart the fear. And one thing that I also forgot to mention is that if you ever seen a heron hunt, they're brutal. Okay, they rip their prey to shreds, and before they even eat them. And so that's what Heron is talking about, is saying, hey, look, if you really want to tear this, this system of control and system of, nonsensical regulations and so forth and so on, what we really need to do is take a hold of the fear, make the fear the prey, and rip it apart. So that way we can stand into our own in power and really use that Badger energy to say, nope, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this forever. If things aren't making sense, we're going to say, nope, they don't make sense. So we're not going to follow it. Okay. Now, rabbit is interesting because of the fact that, of course, that comes in the north. And what rabbit is basically talks about magic. And reason why fear or fear, rabbit is coming in upside down on the north is because of the fact that we are learning that we don't, that we cannot fear our own magic. Okay, we cannot fear our own power, especially in numbers and stuff like that. We cannot fear the power of our thoughts and our feelings, because that is what is making us surrender to these ongoing masking regulations and social distancing and social whatever toxicity that you want to come up with. But the fact of the matter is that what this is reminding us is that we cannot fear our own magic and fear our own power as far as that's concerned. Because really, in the old days, one of the stories that was associated with Rabbit is that he was friends with a shaman, a magical practitioner, and he was so awe-inspired by this magician's power and stuff like that. He began to fear it, and because he feared it, he tried to sabotage the magician, and the magician finally said, "Okay, if you really fear this, then you are going to perpetually fear the magic that you have. You will never realize it. You will never get to experience it for yourself." And so that's why Rabbit comes in as the uh, as the card of magic. And right now, what we are doing is we are doing that. We are fearing the magic that is being wielded, and we don't see it in ourselves, and we don't see our magic as being stronger. The ones who are wielding it right now know this, and that's the illusion that they're keeping us under. Okay, so let's look at the prairie dog. Now, prairie dog is really interesting because of the fact that prairie dog not only sees the underground, but he also looks up above the ground and sees, what's around him, looks out to the horizons and stuff like that. Prairie dog comes in at the Mother Earth position because the foundation of the outcome is whether or not we'll be able to see things not only on the underside, the underpinnings, but also look out at the horizons and see where we're going, where things are heading, see the predators coming, so that way we can duck back under until they've passed, and then stick our heads out again. The prairie dog is also great, one of the great tunnelers as well. So, here it is it's, we're being helped to tunnel through the underground, tunnel through that, even if we're buried in earth, we're still able to tunnel through it. So that way we can dig a peephole out and see what's going on, what's really going on. And what this is also about is essentially ascension, if you will. So, and coming into, of course, greater power. The final outcome is the owl. And the owl, of course, is being able to see through the illusion, seeing through all the bullshit that's going on, for lack of a better term. And so owl, basically what he does, of course, is he sees in the dark. He hears acutely as well as that he sees acutely. And so being able to see through the veil, seeing through the illusion, seeing through the darkness is really what we have the potential to do. And so therefore what happens is that we are being called to basically see through that illusion, being able to see through the darkness. Al is saying we haven't done that yet. We're still, we're still working towards it. I wouldn't say that we're very distant from it or anything like that, but we are still working towards it. And so therefore what happens is that, this is what we can come to. This is what we can arrive at, is being able to see through the illusion. So that way we are not, quote unquote, fooled again and having to repeat, rhyming history over and over again and risk our own annihilation. So that's what that owl represents. Okay, now the last one is really cool because Wild Boar talks about the wisdom of knowledge and wisdom. How we relate to all of this is basically saying when he's coming in upside down in the seventh direction or the inside, is saying that we are not looking at our inner wisdom. We're not looking at the logic. We're not looking at our own sense of being able to critically think and really ask questions and really say, oh, really? Does this really make any sense? Does this really work? Except, what he's saying is that we're being more like sheep rather than being, you know, being self-empowered and being sovereign individuals. And so wild boar is coming in up on the upside down because of the fact that we are not questioning our commons, or we are not questioning with our common sense, our own inner knowledge, what we've been taught to, or that we're not taught to think anymore, and so therefore we don't think anymore. And so what happens is that we are basically being duped, really, in our own, due to our own lack of our own medicine, as it were. So that's why badger and heron flank on the east and west, saying, look, we're not even defining our own boundaries because of the fact that we are so disempowered. We're so kind of sheeple, as it were. I hate to use that word, but because it is a little bit harsh, but that's exactly what it is. So badger and heron are saying that we need to, we need to use our own common sense, stalk the fear, and saying, hey, you know what? Instead of acting emotionally, we'll take our power back. We'll shred that fear, and we'll use our own power to say, no, these are the new boundaries. These are what we will deal with. This is what makes sense, and this doesn't make sense, and therefore we won't tolerate it, and we won't tolerate any mandates from that. The north-south position, which is talking about the community to wisdom, and that is nurturing our own magic. Okay, nurturing our knowledge and nurturing our magic. That is what this is all about. It's not some sort of esoteric thing. The magic comes from the practicality of whom we are, of who and how we think and how we feel. And so therefore what happens is that by using that common sense, by using that inner wisdom, that inner sense of thinking, and so forth and so on, that's where the magic occurs, because that's where the power originates from. Okay, the Mother Earth, Father Sky is looking through the veil of the illusions and sticking our heads above the ground and saying, oh, there's a greater picture here. There's a greater sense of awareness, being able to look above the ground and see what's really around us and see what's really happening. And therefore, we'd be able to see through the illusion by relying on what we know and what really is true science, and not junk science that the government and certain organizations are trying to foist upon us. Okay, so having said that, let me go back to put my cards back up here and go over to here. Yes, I'm still learning this. Hang on. There we go. There's my little box here. Okay, Zoom, why are you not doing this? Oh, I see. Okay. Because I need to hit that red button there. There we go. Ha! What do you know? It works. Okay, so as you can see, this is still a very positive reading. This is something that is, still something that, that is very useful. But what this is saying is that we really got some work to do, and it's really outlined the work that we need to do, and it's still kind of calling on the same things that some episodes we're calling upon, but as you can see, it's a little bit more of a clarification, and we're having that continuation of those challenges as far as, gee, how do we reclaim our freedom? Well, we do so by questioning things, by using common sense, by using critical thinking, and allowing others to do critical thinking and pose those questions. And that's what's happening, but it's not happening enough, is what the universe is saying. It needs to happen more in order to really turn the page and turn the tides as far as all, what's happening right now. we're acting like we're devolved. We haven't evolved at all. I wouldn't say devolved, but that's possible as well. But we're really acting like we haven't evolved at all. So what happens is that we are, what's happening here is that we're still continuing to be challenged over and over and over again because of the fact that we're still learning the lesson. Again, we're getting a little, we're not quite getting kicked in the ass, but we are, okay, and which is a good thing, okay, because of the fact that it's waking us up. But we need to wake up more, and we need to do more because of the fact that we can beat this thing. We've got this. Essentially, what the cards are telling us throughout the past few episodes is yes, we've got a long way to go. We've got a lot of work to do, but however, we've got this. Okay. And that's the phrase that we really need to not only tell ourselves, but also tell each other as well. That's nurturing of the community, right? There's one thing right there. Okay. That's how we cut through the fear as well and cut through the illusion. So anyways, so having said that, I'm going to conclude our show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also like and also subscribe and share this video and like it as well. That really helps as well. This thing is basically my own shoestring operation. Things are just barely getting started again, and so forth and so on. I'm doing this as a public service, of course, to humanity. Now, if you want an individual reading, you can go to my Facebook page. You can go to the Synergy Research page and do click on book a session. That's up there and available. You can also contact me via Messenger and or email as well. I'll have that contact information in the show notes as well. And so you can book your own personal strategy meeting with me. So look forward to being of service, and I really thank you for watching and sharing this. It really means a lot to me, and it really means a lot to me to be to be kind of another tool in the toolbox to help us get through whatever the stuff that we're getting through. So I almost used a cliche. I didn't want to do that. So anyways, until next time, I will see you on the other side of the flip side. Take care, everyone.